coach of the year is going to be the coach of the team that's going to jump into the top 6 in the Eastern Conference, Rick Carlisle.
Wow.
Let's talk about the Indiana Pacers.
Oh, man.
When the
We've
Pacers
done
win
a long
46
segment on
games.
Get in and get out on this one, please.
No, coach of the year. There are a lot
Tell
of
us how Rick Carlisle is so much better than Eric Spoelstra, just so the Heat fans can hear this.
There you go.
Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA, so I got nothing on that.
Coach
of the year generally
coach him in a finals one time though. That did happen.
That absolutely
true.
happened. Rick Carlisle's a fantastic coach, though.
Yep.
Coach of the year essentially goes to basically what team defied expectations the most, right? Like we could just name this, which team is going to have the biggest wins jump, right? So we can use this as a vessel. Sam, who do you think is an interesting candidate here?
Well, as y'all know, and Slater qualifies here as well, I live in the Sacramento area where the only unanimous coach of the year winner, Mike Brown, is currently holding the trophy. I don't see that happening again. No disrespect to Mike. We'll see. I think the Kings will have a good year. Coach of the year for this year, we've already established that Sam didn't do his homework, so Sam is now deciding in real time. I don't know, man. Like, I'm intrigued. I don't know if I'm ready to pick this guy. I'm intrigued by Frank Vogel because if the Suns click, and I do think Frank could have a beautiful blend of kind of like personality and staff and experience and like where he's at to make it work. I mean, we have not even literally mentioned Kevin Durant's name on this pod. We didn't talk about him for MVP or anything. And Kevin Durant is a bad man.
That Jason Tatum has never been at Kevin Durant's level. I did mention that.
Yeah, and Kevin, age notwithstanding, I think is potentially primed for a fantastic year.
Yeah,
now, that being said, Devin Booker's a bad man. So you get into that discussion about, like, I don't even know at this point who the best player on the Suns is, just being honest. But Kevin at his peak, Kevin, if he's healthy, with Bradley Beal, Fred's familiar player, guy he knows really well, that could work. If it works, Frank Vogel's going to get a lot of coach of the year love, especially considering that in the West, even with all their star power, I think most folks are for some reason looking over the Suns.
Yeah. So Sam, I'll add on to that. I like that. That's a good pick. That's a good
Thanks,
pick.
Buddy.
I'll add on to that, and I'll say one of the things that I think people with the Suns were waiting on was, okay, Bradley Beal has been the number one guy on a team for a long time. He's a multi-time All-Star and a 2-time 30-point scorer. Is he going to show up? And whether I don't think anybody thought he was going to show up being like, give me the ball, I'm better than Kevin Durant. But is he going to show up, and how is he going to take habitually to being the third best guy? Is he going to recognize right away, like, okay, I'm number 3? And I can say, I think people with Phoenix are like super encouraged by how he's come in and handled that. From the way it's been described to me, it's just been like, he showed up. He's like, this is Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, and I'm just going to run around screens and I'm going to get my points, Ray Allen on Boston style. And he doesn't have to worry about double teams and all that kind of stuff at the same degree that he did with the Wizards. That is very encouraging for them, because that offense, if Beal just decides I'm going to be an animal off the ball, which, by the way, he's one of the best off-ball players in the league. We kind of forget about it because he had to carry such a burden with the Wizards. But the dude is an amazing cutter, amazing running around pin downs. He's like the best in the league at back cutting traps. Like, if he buys in, like, I think that's the cog, right? Then everybody else follows. And I've heard very encouraging signs from there from a personality standpoint. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe they just destroy everybody because they're so talented, and Vogel gets everyone to buy in, and that gets them.
Okay, Slater, I got my winner, which I'm actually going to go with Mark Dagnall, Thunder. He was second last season. If they make the leap that many are predicting, it seems natural.
Especially on this pod.
Yeah, right. But, I mean, look, you got second last season. And, if they are a playoff team, right, a top 6 team, I think it's just the natural storyline of like, hey, have you seen the job this guy's been doing in the last 4 seasons? he should win it this year. So that's my pick. A couple dark horse candidates if they have surprising seasons. Quinn Snyder in Atlanta. He got remember the way he coached even through the first round of the playoffs last year, kind of pushing Boston. I think he has an opportunity if Atlanta has a good season. And Ime Udoka is going to come in and put his imprint on the Houston Rockets. I don't know if it's going to go well, but if it does, just like remember Mike Brown last season, it was like so much of their growth and story was about what he was as a personality. It'll be similar with Udoka in Houston if it goes well.
Real quick, before you take over, Fred, I keep going back to Vegas. It's so funny how this stuff works. Like, I just looked at 2 different Vegas odds for Coach of the Year, and I understand the narrative matters. Mike Brown's not even in the top 10 on these Coach of the Year odds, which I find very odd, pun intended.
That's why I say this award is just which team is going to outplay expectations the most. That's really just what it is. If it were who do you think is the best coach, then it would go to Greg Popovich and Eric Spoelstra every single season.
And then it's a little bit like once you get it, you like disqualified yourself for the next season.
Slater, I'm surprised. Like, you think that Miami's going to be really good? Hasn't Eric Spoelstra never won Coach of the Year?
You guys tell me. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he's never won Coach of the Year.
I don't think he has. I will confirm.
It would be quite a heel turn by you here to go pick Eric Spoelstra for Coach of the Year after last podcast. You said the Indians.
No, I'm not gonna pick him because I just don't think they're gonna be there.
You also just pick Rick Carlisle.
I'm gonna pick Rick Carlisle. You know what? I'm actually higher on Indiana than I was last week because I'm watching Aaron Nesmith in the preseason, and that dude is ready for a leap. He looks good. They are
Sam. His reasoning for Frank Vogel is because Bradley Beal is like trapping the ball or whatever. His reason for Rick Carlisle is because Aaron Nesmith hit a few threes in a preseason.
No, Fred's a nerd.
Oh, well, there was no denying that.
Yes, Fred is a nerd.
He didn't need this for confirmation. He didn't need this for confirmation. But yeah, I'm going Rick Carlisle. Can I throw out one more name as just like maybe a candidate?
Real quick,
super dark horse.
Eric has never won it. Ever.
Yeah, which is
Riley
wild.
93, Pat Riley of the Heat won it. Last Heat winner.
Isn't that crazy that Spoelstra's never won 97,
97.
Like at some point, Spoelstra's got to get it. So if they just like they lose Gabe Vincent and they lose Strus, and I'm totally wrong, and they win 50 games or whatever, like at some point, like he's got to get it just as a career achievement award. I'm throwing Jamal Mosley's name out there too.
Ooh.
Orlando in the last 60 or so games of the year basically played 500 ball last year, and they were a top 10 defense. Franz Wagner is so talented and going to be so good. Banchero is so talented and going to be so good. They have a super interesting young core. If that team ends up like getting into the play-in and winning 42 games, 43 games, I think people are going to say stuff because of also how they win. Like, you have a team that young playing defense that good, all of a sudden people go to, why is this young team so good defensively? And they start looking at the coach. I think they're very well coached. And I think people could start to realize that if they start to win some games this year.